Joining us right now to talk about the new gun laws and the new recreational cannabis law is Anahita Sedaghatfar. Let's start with the gun laws.
Yes.
So, Anahita, some people are saying that they're very confused about these new gun laws. What do they mean just in the nuts and bolts way?
Right, so it's very confusing. There are numerous bills, numerous laws that have passed. One of the main standouts is the new law regarding convicted criminals. And the new law starting January 1st, if you're convicted of a crime in California, felonies and some dangerous misdemeanors, you have to turn over your guns right away upon conviction. And you have to also show proof to the court that you've turned in your guns. And if you don't do so, you can be further criminally charged. And that is very different than how we're doing things now, because as it stands now, law enforcement essentially has to go door to door collecting weapons from convicted criminals. And so now really this puts the onus on individuals who have committed crimes to turn over their guns or face further repercussions.
But presumably this has to do with licensing, right? So
right.
If you have a gun without a license, how would police know it's even there?
That's a problem. A lot of crimes involve guns, whether it's an illegal gun or a licensed gun, and that comes out in the court record. So to the extent that the authorities know you have a weapon, a gun, you have to turn that gun in. And again, if you don't do it, you will now face additional charges. So this is going to be a real big game changer in terms of gun control.
What do you think the chances are that this will be challenged in the courts?
I don't think that one is particularly going to be challenged. I think it makes sense. One of the gun laws that I think will be challenged is the new ammunition law in California. So starting January 1st, you cannot order ammunition online or through a catalog and have it delivered to your home anymore. It has to go to a licensed vendor, and they have to do a background check on you before you can get ammunition. That's also a huge game changer. There are a lot of opponents that say that this is a huge threat to the Second Amendment. And then, of course, you have those that say, no, this makes sense. We need to make sure that certain individuals do not get access to ammunition. I think that law will be challenged in the courts.
Is there a limit on how much you can order at one time?
Yeah, so they're putting limits. There are already some that exist in California. You know, California has some of the strictest gun laws in the country. So this just kind of adds further restrictions. And yes, there are certain limitations depending on the ammunition. But as it stands, starting January 1st, you cannot go into a store, you cannot go online and simply purchase ammunition anymore. You have to undergo a background check. That is new in California.
There's an adage in politics, as goes California, so goes the rest of the country.
Right.
Do you think that's true anymore as we go into 2018?
I don't think that's going to necessarily be true. California is very different. I think we have much more strict gun laws, like I said, than other states. We know the NRA has a huge lobby, and I think that really affects other states and in terms of how they pass gun control laws.
Let's talk about recreational marijuana. So come January 1, things will be vastly different than December 31st?
Yes. So a lot of misunderstanding about the marijuana law. Yes, January 1st, recreational marijuana is legal in California. But no, that doesn't mean you can walk around the streets lighting up a joint. There are numerous regulations with respect to who can purchase the marijuana. For example, you have to be 21 and older. You can only purchase limited amounts at a time. You can't you can't drive and smoke. You can't smoke in public. And then there are a ton of regulations with respect to the dispensaries. They have to be licensed. There's limitations on where they can be located. So it's still very highly regulated. It's not going to be to the point where people can just light up on the streets and go partying and smoking marijuana. That's not going to happen.
A little bit more like when you go to a bar and drink alcohol. Obviously you can't drink outside.
Right. You can't drink and drive. You can't smoke in public. We know that a lot of the dispensaries, they're limited. So they have to be closed by 10 p.m., for example. We know that they can't be located within 600 miles of a school or a park, and they have to be licensed. And so we know the state is going to highly regulate them. And we're hearing there's going to be about $50 million in tax revenue that is supposed to come out from these laws in 2018 alone. So it's going to be big business.
In conflict, though, with federal law, I mean, do you see a scenario where the feds come riding in and you're in big trouble anyway?
It's possible. We know that federal law trumps state law, and federal law does make marijuana illegal. So how does this work? You know, it's going to be really complicated. The Trump administration is different than the Obama administration, which took a hands-off approach, and there's indications that they certainly might go after these marijuana dispensaries. They do not believe that recreational marijuana should be legal.
But medicinal marijuana has been in place here in this state for 20 years. So
that's right.
Doesn't that somehow I don't know, set legal precedent?
Yeah, so that's different than recreational marijuana. We know the Obama administration said, you know what, we have bigger fish to fry. The federal government's not going to go after states that have recreational marijuana. But we know that the Trump administration, they're sort of equating marijuana with heroin. And they've kind of put feelers out there saying that we have the right, and they do. The federal government has the right to enforce federal law in every state in this union. And they've indicated that we might go after dispensaries.
All right, Anahita Sedaghatfar, we thank you so much for your thoughts today.
Thank you so much.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well.
Thank you. We'll be right back.